Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show. As always, I'm joined by Andrew Combo Salop. Andrew, what's going on, my man? Combo.
All is well. How are you, Coach Nick?
I'm a little tired. I don't know. It was a weird day today, but I'm hanging in there. And you know what it was? It was going through probably 200 clips of Kyrie Irving and the Nets over those 4 games he's been back, and I kind of like sapped some energy from me a little bit. I hate to say it.
Well, Kyrie is one of the most fun basketball players to watch highlights from, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Yeah, well, let's do a little roll call. We haven't really done much with the interaction of the live people in the comments, but we got some people who just want to say hi. Let's say hi back, shall we? I mean, I don't know, Combo, if you can see this, but let's go do it. I got Robert. Thanks so much for loving the show. Kenneth is here. Jay, yo, with a couple O's in there. Ken, I thought it was tomorrow. We know what we're trying today. Forgive us. We're going to try Tuesdays. We're going to mix it around A/B testing. Isn't that what they call it, Combo?
Yeah, it's good that people realize the day. We just changed the day now, so maybe they'll realize the new day, which will be Tuesday.
That's right. Tuesday. It could be Thursday. We'll see what it is. Let's see here. We have who else are we talking about? Thank you, Martin. We got Conrad. Hello. Aaron. He said Coach Nick with a lot of exclamation points. I'm going to say Aaron with a lot of exclamation points. And Adrian, we salute you. Anybody? I feel like I'm missing somebody. Oh, JED. Thank you so much for all the love. We love it. So great to be here. Who really wants to watch the Knicks and the Wolves right now? Let's do a little spoiler alert right now. It's 61-49 at the end of the second quarter, so it's halftime. We all can join anyway, so and not miss a beat. I got a really cool thing coming up for you guys that you want to stay tuned to because it's going to be little X's and O's, and the Combo. I want you to be able to weigh in a little bit too. We can discuss some things. It'll be interesting for on the video.
I'm excited.
So that'll be really cool. If you're going to listen to this as a podcast, not so exciting. Maybe we'll just even delete it, but nonetheless. But let's get into the Nets because that's on my mind. I want to talk about it. Tomorrow I'm dropping the Kyrie Irving video. Are you guys all excited for that? Where I'm going to explain what they're doing on the offensive side with him and how they're integrating him. I'm even going to show the Kevin Durant stuff, even though, unfortunately, Kevin Durant is out for a little while. Did you see that Kevin Durant injury?
Yes, it's very unfortunate. It wasn't like an injury where he was by himself, which those are actually usually the worst. You know, somebody bumped into him and he didn't tear his MCL. He damaged a ligament, which is not the worst thing in the world. Even when you tear your MCL, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not like an ACL. So he'll be back. He'll be back to KD before we know.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I am a little bit worried about I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Bing Bong is correct from Jet for Sale 1. Thank you for I forgot. I was remiss. I did Bing Bong to you before we started the broadcasting, but of course you got to say Bing Bong when you say the Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go. Now the thing about the KD thing was that Bruce Brown, fell backward into him and hyperextended his knee.
Right.
The falling down part was a little bit interesting to me because, and it kind of ties into the Kyrie play where the guy dove, and we talked about that last time, right? We did.
We did, yep.
And I saw one with the Lakers last night. We could probably talk about the Lakers a little bit too, because there's some interesting reporting coming out about Frank Vogel that we can get to. So I was watching Austin Reeves, who, by the way, listen, I was like, this guy's only on the team because the COVID stuff and injuries and whatever. I got to tell you, he's slowly convincing me he's a legit NBA player. But there's a
was it the same with Caruso? Did he slowly convince you, or you thought he was a legit NBA player from the beginning?
It slowly convinced me. It took me 2 years before I thought, okay, he's like really an NBA guard. And by the way, he wasn't an NBA guard. He was bouncing back and forth between the G League. He really was having trouble figuring it out. But once he did, it took 2 years, I think, and then all of a sudden, all the good stuff really came out. He got comfortable, and then here he is. He's and by the way, he's not he's not scoring. I don't think he's scoring 10 points a game, right? But he is a high impact player and he does belong. He's legit. Austin Reeves is a similar way. In fact, he has low key some of the best passes I've seen this year. I'm telling you, I'm going to do a video, and there's a list of guys I want to do a video on, and I'm going to try and figure out how I can make it all work together. But there's guys like Sengun out there who's terrific as a passer and also footwork wise.
He has savant-like footwork in the post. You can't teach what he has, in my opinion.
But somebody taught him, right?
I don't know. It's like Jokic's passing. Like, yeah, I guess somebody taught Jokic how to pass, but there is some innate ability there.
We talked about that too. Like, can you teach that? Can you teach guys to really be free and be creative with passing? Like, I would hope you can create an environment where people would want to experiment and try that. But you're right. There's always the one guy, and not every year, not every team, but like when I would coach, yeah, you'd have a guy, every couple of years, whatever, who come along and he would throw any kind of pass he could imagine and try it. It didn't always work, but it was always fun and exciting and got other guys to cut.
Yeah, like there's been guys who have got a lot better at it over their career. Kawhi is definitely one of them. As low as I am on Jason Tatum, he has improved as a passer. So you can get better as a passer, but I think it is one of the most innate abilities out of all the abilities in basketball.
Wait, are you ready to slander Jason Tatum?
I'm not a big Jason Tatum guy. I was always a little bit higher on Jaylen Brown than most and always a little bit lower on Jason Tatum than most, but he's a good player.
That sounds familiar. Listen, Jason Tatum is a pseudo, basically a friend of the breakdown, so we don't want to speak too ill. But yes,
I didn't say anything disrespectful. I'm just saying how I feel.
I mean, listen, I can get sometimes we have a nickname for him in the back DMs that nobody sees that refers to his ability to keep his eyes inability to keep his eyes up when he dribbles. And it's a problem that causes problems not only for passing but for like shooting. When he gets near the basket, all of a sudden he then gets his eyes up and it's like doesn't realize there's a whole world up here that he could be seeing before he shoots it. Nonetheless, we digress because we were going to talk about the injury first to KD before we get into the offense by the Nets. And also, don't forget, if you want to ask a question, please do so. In the description, I believe there is the link. If I go there, I'm going to check and make sure it's there. But yes, there's a link in the description. Click on that if you want to join us, and you can chop it up with me and Combo. We want to hear from you. We want to see you if you want to have your camera on. Otherwise, you can do just audio. No big deal. So definitely do that. And if you want to get your comment on the text side, up on the top, and then we can notice it. Super chat's always the way to go. So if you want to do that, we give you a lot of love and we a lot of thanks, and it helps us keep the show going. So let's get to the so Bruce Brown takes contact. He's desperately sliding to try and stay in front of the ball. I think he kind of like accentuated the contact. I think he kind of added to the propelling of himself down to the ground, which then leads to him slamming into KD's knee. I'm troubled by this a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of the fake hustle, and maybe fake hustle is too rude of a term because it's not Nasir Little's fault. He is trained to do that. He's trained by all these Neanderthal coaches that you got to dive on the ball no matter what, even though that ball was never going to be recovered that he dove for when Kyrie got taken out. But I saw this with Austin Reeves last night. Ball semi-fumble, not even a real fumble, but like a semi-fumble. So it was a little bit slightly loose before the guy was about to dribble it one more time. Dove and just about took somebody else's legs out. And it was a terrible dive. And he kind of like gave up midway through and wasn't even like kind of collapsed almost of a dive. We got to stop this stuff. I don't understand why this sort of toxic masculinity, fake, toughness thing has to permeate the entire, United States way of coaching.
Neanderthal coaching. That's an interesting term, coaching. Yeah, I guess it does tie into your diving theory that players just shouldn't do it. But look, man, he tried to get that offensive foul. I guess, and it didn't really lead to anything good. It actually led to something horrible, which is KD's MCL is now sprained. So maybe there is some truth into what you're saying.
And we can indict the referees who refuse to call an offensive foul unless you fall down to the ground. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, you could watch footage from the 40s and the 50s. They would call fouls, offensive fouls, when the guy didn't have to flop to the ground and make it look like it was, an egregious assault on his dignity. So,
how do you feel about those coaches that do the charge drills and like always the guy who's not is that good in basketball is really good at that drill?
Coaches who do those drills incessantly should be fired, and at the very least should have to go to a class to explain to them why. And we talked about this before, but and listen, I rail against this because I was that guy. We did charge drills a little bit, but like I can remember one time it spurned almost a team season-ending fight because of that, and we were like, hit him harder, you got to knock him over. Like, it was awful. No one ever got hurt, but that's an absolute amazing idea, the fact that we for the charge drill stuff, but then also diving as well. The worst position you can possibly be in is with the ball in your hand on the ground. That's the worst position. And so why would we train players to get in that position? Train them to, to run doubled over and scoop the ball up and then making it go somewhere with it. It'll save people's bones. It'll save people's bodies, their backs. It'll save the knees. And I just saw the Shaka Smart stuff that we saw, those drills where you dive across the floor here and then you jump into the air and save it there and you take a charge next and whatever. It's ridiculous. Train your kids how to shoot better. Train the players how to dribble better. Train them how to pass better, how to defend better. That's what toughness is, not the other stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Basketball is a skill sport, and the more skillful you get, the better you get. I agree. I think the focus should be on the skill.
I think it's a cop-out. Like, okay, we don't think that we can train you to get any better with your skills. So you're just going to be the guy that we're going to make sure like hustles more than everybody else. That was me. I could shoot the crap out of the ball, but like I thought I had to play harder than everybody else. So I kind of like, didn't get enough development ball handling wise, and other things that really frustrated. Ball handling is probably the biggest one. So, and plus I did all those static ball handling drills. It's like if I walk into a gym and I see guys like doing a 2-ball drill in place, I just want to kick the balls out of their hand. Because remember, a lot of the drills I like, the 2-ball drills, but if you're not moving, then I just don't see the real benefit from that. And I think it just wastes your time. I've had countless players who were stagnant with their development, could not get better dribbling. And so we finally said, you know what, stop the stagnant dribbling, the static dribbling drills. We're going to get you up and moving with the ball across the court. And that was exponentially faster and better and much more,
The key to a great handle is footwork and foot speed. It's high, low, fast, slow. That's the key to having a great handle. It's not really your hands that much as people might think. Well,
you played pro and you were a ball handler. It's like we would do these drills. You see these machine gun drills. You're like lower than your knee, and it's like you watch the best ball handlers in the world. They don't dribble. They dribble by the waist. It comes up to the waist. Maybe every other dribble.
Well, sometimes when they're splitting a screen, you got to get low.
Right, like for one dribble. But like maybe 10% of your dribbles are that low real quick, and then you get it right back to the right. So you're not in a good position. You're balanced. Right. You're not pitched forward.
You got to get low when you have to get. You got to get low when you have to get low. There are situations, but for the most part, you're right. For most of the game, you're not dribbling that low.
Yeah, and you can simulate that and develop that in a move in a dynamic ball handling drill versus like maybe you're trying to like strengthen your wrists by like machine gunning like that all the time, but it's not. There's nothing that I see that actually translates to the game of basketball. And if you want to strengthen your wrists, there's lots of other ways you can do that, like without wasting practice time for that. But nonetheless, let's get back to we're talking about KD. So I wasn't happy with Bruce Brown, what he did there to some degree. It obviously wasn't intentional to run into KD, but it's like the mindset is I'm going to try and get in front of him. I was way out of position. There was no way he was going to get a charge, but I'm going to try and show that I was there and whatever, and get knocked down. And then boom, we get KD out. And we've seen that a number of times in crucial ways. The Nets should just feel fortunate that it was only in a January game. He'll be back in 5 weeks and he'll be fine. But let's talk about the Nets offense because it sucks. Well, okay. They're ranked 8th in offensive rating. So it does not suck. You cannot say by any measurable, number that they suck. But interestingly enough, they move the least amount of any team in terms of distance covered during a game. They throw very few passes compared to the rest of the league as well. Some of the things I like aesthetically, they don't do, but it's effective because they have KD and Harden and Kyrie. But I got to tell you, when I went through looking for the sets they ran to get these guys involved, it was very, very hard to actually find anything that was clever and creative. That's my point.
Do you feel like the players are running the show there? They're pretty much doing what they want, especially their big three.
Here's the thing. Like on some of the plays that you do see something, like Steve Nash is like, okay, we're going to do a double ball screen here. We're going to do a little pistol action or Chicago, whatever they're going to do. So like he's some of it's happening. But yes, do I get this notion that he doesn't really have a lot of say, and maybe he doesn't really want it because he knows how good they are, and it's a players league and all those different things. Like Steve Kerr could also have been that way. And he was kind of that way, but they had a much more of a structured offense, even when KD was there. And so, I did a big video a few years ago when KD was talking about how the offense is great for 3 quarters, but not in the fourth. And he was right. And I went through and I pulled all that stuff out. But like, at least for the first 3 quarters, they were running, really nice balanced sets with good movement and passing and all that stuff. you couldn't help but, you're going to have to. That's going to happen when you have guys like, Clay cutting and Curry passing and moving so much, and then Draymond distributing the ball. Like, you're going to have a natural built in, which they don't have at all. And the Nets also, once they get back beyond the top three offensively, they're not very talented, right? Like, I mean, Patty Mills is like the only other really threat because until Joe Harris comes back.
Yeah, you mentioned Steve Kerr. I'm actually reading a leadership book, and they have a whole chapter on Steve Kerr. It's not even a basketball book, but they have a whole chapter on him. His career is phenomenal. Like, what he went through early and what he did as a player, as a coach, as a GM is just insane. But when it comes to Steve Nash, maybe he's just trying to be that coach that he wanted to play for.
Right. Well, remember, Steve Nash helped out Steve Kerr, so there was like a lot of Warriors, for a couple of years there. So he was observing, he was assimilating that stuff, and I'm not surprised that Nash would be, I mean, he's very low key. He's not going to get in anyone's face. He doesn't want to ruffle anyone's confidence. All great stuff. I think the process here with these specific players is not easy, though, because they're going to want to do their own thing. And again, the results you can't really argue with. KD is having a phenomenal shooting year. I mean, it's got to feel so helpless when you watch when you guard him, because he literally just shoots over you. You're right there, hands 100%. Up. It's the best defense, and the net doesn't even move. And he doesn't even notice that you're there.
They call him KD makes.
KD makes. Oh, I like that. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So it's got to be very futile feeling. I don't know, like, what Scottie Pippen would do or whatever, somebody like that, to have to try and shut him down, because with the rules the way they are now, it'd be tough.
Well, do you see Steve Nash just trying to keep it simple?
Yeah.
Not trying to overcomplicate things because he has this great talent there on that team?
But here's the problem. The shot value, the difficulty of shots they consistently generate from the non-offense they're so hard, and I would worry that translates poorly to the playoffs, in like the second round of the playoffs, right? Not the first. If you're like the second seed or the first seed and you're playing the eighth, whatever. But I'm telling you, when you get to the next level there of competition, and all you're doing is generating really tough mid-range shots and really tough, three-point shots. I don't know, man. I mean, listen, perhaps there's a different version of the Matrix. Joe Harris comes back. They're still plugging in Patty Mills, who's playing terrific, and they get those guys going. They'll get easier shots. But the way I see it now, it's like I'd be very concerned.
If they have all three of their players and they're playing really well, do you think they could just out-talent the competition, even if the chemistry and the offense isn't optimal?
There's probably the three teams that can beat them doing that strategy. Well, I don't know. Who are the three teams
that could beat them?
Yeah, and they'd have to match up. Do the Bucks match up defensively? Probably.
Yeah, they don't match up talent-wise in terms of offensive talent. But
defensively, if you got Drew and you got Middleton, you got Giannis, you can match up with those guys.
You could. I just think that, man, that's a tough team to play against. And also their chemistry is great when they played. So that's another thing. Like, you have that talent and the chemistry on top of it. You start going KD at the 5, it's at times, and man, that offense is just, that team is tough, man. Do you see a team?
I don't know.
With them all healthy, do you see a team beating them?
Well, yeah, the Bucks could beat them for sure. Okay. I think that they could get into a bit of a dry spells. Well, let's talk about James Harden for a minute, because here's the thing. People would argue, right? It's not a hot take, that for the last several years, Harden was benefiting so greatly from the refereeing, the whistles, that was what made him so elite. And I would argue totally and shout that down. Like, no, this guy is amazing anyway, and he's actually part of drawing fouls as a skill. He is really, really struggling without that whistle being blown for him as much now. Really, going to the basket, turning it over, and missing shots, things that you would never imagine James Harden, of all people, doing. I'm concerned about that, because it's going to get probably a little bit worse in the playoffs as far as what the refs will allow physically.
Yeah. You know how you tell if a player declined? You watch their old highlights. If you watch some of James Harden's old highlights, the foot speed was incredibly different. Like, he had elite foot speed at one point, and he was just a better player at one point. Can he get back to 90% of that? I hope so. He's not there right now, but he did go through a stretch where he was getting a little bit better, and then at times he seems to be sputtering and regressing at points.
But are you thinking that maybe 12th year in the league at 32, this is now the physical decline of his?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to get into the guy's lifestyle, but lifestyle has something to do with it. Some guys are totally dedicated to staying in shape, like LeBron. There's guys that aren't, like AD, Luka, Harden. You could tell those guys aren't obsessive. They're not the most dedicated guys when it comes to keeping their body in shape. I don't know them personally, but from what I see and some of the things I hear, that's what it is pretty much. So I think the compound effect over time could lead to a player declining a little bit faster than maybe he should.
Interesting. Well, there could be lots of that. All I know is when I was going through all the Kyrie footage, what I did was I selected every minute he played, and then I isolated just the offensive side. So I'm watching all of their offensive possessions throughout all those 4 games. And, obviously they're playing alongside Harden a lot of that time. So I'm watching the Harden shots too. And I mean, I don't know. There's plays that I would have never imagined him making in a bad way. Just like with turnovers and missed shots that are, even like open layups now he's missing in transition. Yeah. It's like it just doesn't make sense to me.
And in Houston, he was a lot more engaged when he was in his prime. Like he just seems less engaged at points. Like he's not as interested.
Yes, and you know what? I see a super chat which did not alert me. I'm sorry. A few minutes ago, buzzer beater. Forgive me. Why did that not come up more clearly on the top of my comments? But here it is. Let's get to it. Buzzer beater, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's put it on the screen. Geez, I forgot. Oh, remember this? We can do this on the screen. Please do a video on why Atlanta is struggling. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they actually had a huge win. They just beat the Bucks. Yeah, it would be worth doing a video. Do you have any thoughts on Atlanta right now, real quick?
Well, as bad as they're doing, I'd say that Trae Young is having an underrated, really great, sneaky season. Trae Young is phenomenal, man. Like, he is a difference maker, and I just love how him and Ja are the future of the league. And they're players that people could relate to because they're so small. So I don't think it's Trae's fault, but they definitely got a lot of issues. I know Cam didn't want to be there, and they had a lot of wings that they had to get minutes to. So maybe they could focus in on those wings that they have, and they can get a little bit more comfortable. I don't know, man. Collins doesn't seem to be happy at times. I know they had their little problem, him and Trae at one point. I don't know if that's coming back. Winning cures all. So it kind of like shifted to the wayside last season, and I don't know if that's back. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, Collins just came out and said, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be here. This is good stuff. And I think that, if they can get a little bit more healthy, the Cam Reddish thing was weird to me, but who knows? It's funny.
What, that trade, right? How did that benefit them? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, no, this is the fact that he wanted out, and then he was real. It sounded like he was kind of a malcontent, and it was real strange to me. I don't know. I mean, listen, he had a little taste because he was hurt all last year, whatever. Then he comes to the playoffs, gets a little taste, does well. It doesn't go as perfectly as he thought from the beginning of the season. Then he just kind of maybe soured on the role he had. But I don't know. It just was weird to me because I thought they were building something here. But the other problem is if he stays and they get DeAndre Hunter back, then that's crowded too, and that doesn't get Cam Reddish what he wants. Cam Reddish is like Corey Maggette, right? Isn't sort of a clone?
What, in terms of the way they play?
Yeah,
body types are totally different, which matters in basketball. I mean, Cam is more of that. Corey Maggette was rock solid. Cam is more of that slender kind of. He got that kind of like that perfect NBA frame, like those long wings that could defend multiple positions and get up and down the court. I think he's a little bit different. Corey Maggette was a little bit better athlete vertically. I think they were different. I don't know.
I get Corey Maggette vibes from him for some reason.
Cam is a little bit smoother of a player too. He's really a fluid player. And Corey was better to the basket. Cam kind of shies away from contact.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right, fair enough. All right. So there's definitely a lot of things that we can talk about with Atlanta if people really want to do it. Oh, we have somebody who wants to come on the show, but I think I have a super chat real quick that popped up here. How do I find it? Let me get it. Here we go. Yes. I don't know if we can say his name though, but you know what? We can because it's 9:00 on the East Coast. We can say this is from a pimp named Slickback. All right. And a great photo, by the way. That definitely looks like what the name of your account is. Thank you so much for being so generous. Coach, what's your thoughts on the net spacing? To me, I think that's where we've messed up this year. There's too much stagnation on our offense. So spacing and stagnation are like two separate things, but hell yeah, you're right about the stagnation. Man, they lead the league in, I tweeted this out earlier, they lead the league in isolations, percentage of time in isolation by so much that the standard deviation is basically they're up like almost 2 percentage points in terms of percent of time. To find that gap from second, you have to go all the way to 12th before you get 2 more percentage points difference after in terms of percent of time they ISO. Now they're good at it. They're second ranked in the league in terms of efficiency, which is if it works. Again, Steve Nash is like, well, if it works, why would we not? But it leads to so many of these gosh darn possessions where everyone's just standing there watching, KD or watching Kyrie or watching Harden. Harden's ISOs have to be pretty bad. I want to look at it real quick if I can call it up while we're talking on Synergy. But obviously KD's I'm sure is awesome in ISOs, and then obviously Kyrie's just coming back. He looked a little bit rusty, but I would just is it aesthetics? Is that all it is? Because obviously they're scoring well, and you can't. How can you argue with a team that's 8th ranked in the offensive rating? Obviously that's good. But my coaching radar just starts to vibrate a whole lot, and it's hard for me to watch sometimes. What about you?
I'd say 2 words, Joe Harris. I mean, when Joe Harris comes back, there'll be a lot more spacing. It's another shooter around their big three. I don't think they have too much shooting around their big three right now, and I think he could help a lot, even though he struggled in the playoffs last year.
Okay. Well, yeah. And by the way, here's how it breaks down. Harden is awesome, actually. He's 87th percentile, and he's got way more ISO than anybody else on this team, even way more than Durant, which is interesting. James Harden gets 51% of their ISOs, and Kevin Durant only gets 31.6. That's interesting. I would probably flip that if I were them. Although Harden is more efficient in an ISO, according to Synergy. So that's interesting to me. We'll see. So that is the issue. To me, I think, yes, they need more spacing. Spacing is another issue because they have some players out there that, are not NBA players. I was just watching the guy from Carolina who's a center.
Well, there's some, with COVID protocols, there's a few teams struggling with that. And I would also say some of these G League guys are legit NBA players. They just haven't got their opportunity yet. So it's a mix of both.
Here's the guy. Where is he? What's his name? Oh, is it? You know what? Do they not even have him up here? Oh, yeah, there it is. Day'Ron Sharp.
Yeah.
He's a rookie from Carolina. I don't know, man. I was watching him. And
he's a rookie. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but and he actually had a game where he had went 7 for 10. I need to watch that one. I'm sensing it's a lot of dump offs for dunks or whatever. But I watched the game just recently with Kyrie, and it was rough. It was really rough. From a skill level standpoint, even independent of rookie, even though I know rookies need to develop more skills. But the point remains that right now, yes, with COVID stuff. And a little bit in the injury side, they are thin and they don't really have a very deep team. And so that's another problem when it's hard to generate offense if you want to rest a couple of those guys. But when you have 3, then you can make that work. But I think that they would be best suited, upgrading a little bit on the margins if they could before the trade deadline.
Yeah. Look, all these teams have to find ways to get better because there's a lot of teams in the mix. So it's that time to go all in and try and separate yourself. The Warriors can make some moves. The Lakers can make some moves. And as you said, the Nets can make some moves.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we have some people who want to join. So let's do this. We have Biblical Christological account. Okay, let's see what this is about. We'll bring them in. And it looks like they made the audio. But are you there?
Biblically, this is Biblical Christological account, FTW YouTube, here to tell the both of you that neither of thou can destroy our biblical Christological God. Responses.
Awesome. Anything about basketball?
Biblically, thy's missive contra me is not a potential destroyer contra the omnitudinous of our biblical Christological God. Thus, I will reiterate the aforementioned unimpeachable factuality that was explicitly articulated contra the both of thou by ears verily. Biblical Christological account, FTW YouTube. Biblically, neither of thou can destroy our biblical Christological God. Responses.
All right. Thank you. Godspeed. Okay. Well, that was exciting. Jesus, I thought was a good hooper, by the way. I heard back in the day. Had a good crossover. Let's do this. Let's go there. All right. Oh, I have to do that. Never mind. Let's just go say goodbye to him. All right. Let's try Jim. Let's see if Jim wants to add something to the conversation. Are you there, Jim Newman?
I am. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Great.
Hey,
great.
Jim,
how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I have a quick question for you guys regarding free throws allotted to James Harden. at the beginning of the season, it seems like he was really clamped down upon by the refs and by the rule changes, in which allows him to advantageously get free throws, and kind of the way he's been doing it his whole career. Now, James Harden is shooting his highest free throw rate in relation to the league of his entire career. Something changed in this season that allowed him to get a significant amount more free throws. In fact, more so in relation to the league than ever in his entire career. He's shooting a 223 free throw rate plus right now. His highest before that was 219, and that was back in 2013.
Yeah, I just noticed that because there was no question in the beginning of the year he was getting mauled and they weren't calling it. Like, they swung way the other way in terms of letting the teams play, which I think the fans enjoyed. I think it made it a little bit more surprising, like what's going to happen when now the defense can play a little bit. But there's no question that the pendulum has swung back a little bit too, back the other way, right, Combo? Would you say that's true?
Yeah, it did seem like that. The refs were trying to prove a point in the beginning of the season, and the fans were liking it. But there did seem to be more altercations because of it as well. So
yeah,
that's why the pendulum might have swung back, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now he's averaging. I'm just kind of curious as far as the per game thing. I mean, he's below 23 points, which has got to be a low for a lot of years for him. And he's got 8.3 free throws attempts a game, which is high. It's gotten up because you're right. It was lower before. All I can tell you though is that there are still moments where he's going to the basket and just missing easy shots or shots that he would have made in his sleep. And he looks around a little bit afterwards. It's like, to me, it just feels like he's expecting that whistle. He's so used to getting it all those years, and he hasn't quite adjusted to there's still a little bit of an absence, even though he's getting a lot more free throws now, even. You know what I mean? I think that he's still expecting that. He's got to fix that a little bit. He needs to improve that. And if he does, then, his numbers get back to normal because he's shooting, 42% from the field. That's got to be low for him overall. I'm going to tell you right now. His career average is 44, but last year is at 47. So it's like, he should be closer to 45 than he is than 41.
Yeah.
He was probably shooting.
He's shooting a 92 2-point plus right now, which is below league average, which is not great. But that's all I had. Thank you so much, guys. Coach Nick, Andrew, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
We have another super chat from JTrap1000. And again, I gotta tell you, I love. Oh, let's get you back next to me. I love this whole outlay. We can get the comments on the screen. This is shout out to StreamYard. All right, JTrap1000. Thank you so much. He says, do you think a fully healthy Lakers team can beat the Nets / win the chip this year? Talent-wise, they may have a chance. Love your work. Keep it going. Thank you so much. Well, this is a good question because we're talking about the Nets. We're talking about some concerns I have about the playoffs and how they're stagnant on offense and get a lot of real. I mean, when you watch Kyrie make some of these shots out of the isolation, I don't know how he makes them. And again, he'll keep making those. I don't know, but it's still troubling. The Lakers are a whole other story. Let's broach that subject real quickly. Sam Amick in The Athletic and Bill Oram jointly reported that basically had they lost against last night against
the Jazz,
that the Vogel was gone, having suffered a huge blowout loss against the Denver Nuggets, and then there was the Kings before that, and somebody else, Memphis before that. So listen, there's no way you can say with a straight face the Lakers are going to be able to compete for a title this year. Can you?
I don't know, man. People have bet against LeBron before, and there are some numbers saying. And there are some numbers saying that when AD, Westbrook, and LeBron played this season, they played pretty darn well. Also, they probably won't be the exact team in terms of their roster going forward after this trade deadline. I think there's some interesting free agents that could land on the Lakers roster. I would say Eric Gordon is one of them. I would say Covington is one of them.
Whoa.
There's some guy.
They're going to cut Covington?
What do you mean?
Well, they don't. Who are they going to be able to trade for to get him?
On the Blazers.
You're talking about the Lakers getting him?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how are they going to get him?
Because the Blazers don't want to win this season.
Oh, so they're going to throw like THT at him or something?
Yeah, I think I think Nurkic and him might be gone soon from the Blazers.
Okay. I'm just looking at it from the Lakers standpoint, like who do they have that is valuable? I mean, Austin
THT.
Reeves? What?
No, THT for sure.
All right, but THT, I don't know if I'm sold on him.
Kendrick Nunn. I think Kendrick Nunn is better than people think.
He is. I like Kendrick Nunn. He's just not healthy, and And by the way,
Exactly.
again, AD comes back, changes the whole calculus of everything, right? So it's like but he wasn't looking great. Here's the thing. You're right. When you look at the 3-man lineup data, it's like, yeah, look at how great that looked. Although I might look it up before we finish the show just to make sure just exactly what that net rating is. But the individual pieces, AD did not look great. Russ really hasn't looked great at all. And the funny thing is he's eliminated his turnovers, but like at the expense of, I got to do a deep dive. I've done too much Russ, I thought, recently, but I want to do a deep dive because my brain, and I watched some Lakers, is telling me that that the Russ is like less aggressive now, so he doesn't turn the ball over as much, and that's kind of ruining everything else. He's shooting pretty poorly. He's not scoring very well. He did you see the dunk against Rudy?
Yeah, that was crazy. And he kept talking for like 2 minutes after, which I don't blame him.
Oh yeah, and was he talking to the Jazz too? Like they cut out when you watch him go from on the baseline.
He was talking to everybody, as he should, man. Trash talk is part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you dunk like that on somebody, then
how
then
about
more
the
power
Cade
to you.
rejection? That was ridiculous. Let
What?
the guy dunk. They ejected Cade for dunking on somebody and pointing somewhere. That's ridiculous.
He dunked on the guy and then he pointed at him. Maybe there was something going on beforehand, and we don't know.
I think somebody said that he wasn't even pointing at him. But either way, it doesn't matter. Like, don't eject somebody for that.
But I think so. And you know what? I need to do a deeper dive. That was the second technical foul, I guess, right? That's why he got tossed, right?
Yes.
And so that's the other thing is, okay,
that would be the last. That's the last rookie I would think would get ejected from a game. Like,
I know. Yeah. Because I want to know the first check. Because that's what you always say. It's like, hey, man, don't be smart out there. Don't do that, because you know what's going to happen is something else is going to happen out of your control, and then you might get teed up for that, and then boom, now you're gone. All because that first technical could have been avoided. So that could be part of it. But anyway, I listen. Can the Lakers be the Nets? The Nets are also a bit of a flawed team because they are. I think they're just very shorthanded beyond the big three, or with Patty Mills in there. So they're both in that same situation. When the Lakers are healthy, they have the big three, and it kind of drops off after that too. I don't know.
Right?
So do you think the Lakers should beat them?
It'll be hard for them to stop LeBron and AD in the interior, right? That Nets team.
Yeah, because KD isn't going to mess it up down there. He doesn't want any.
Right, and Blake's not the same athlete. Aldridge isn't. He isn't too great defensively. Like, what do they have down there to like manage LeBron and AD?
Yeah, like Claxton and stuff. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's not good. Have you watched Blake recently? Because it's not good, man. Blake is
his athleticism has declined a lot, and the jump shot. I mean, I remember even watching him in the beginning of the season. That did not look good. Like, the energy transfer on the jump shot is just not there like it was last season.
No, yeah, he's hanging in the air like he's shooting on the way down from 23, 24 feet. It's not good.
Tough, yeah.
Just the movement quality is bad. It's sad. I mean, he's gotten, he was a tremendous athlete who's now been beaten down, and it's not easy. But I tell you what, this is a good time as any. Do you guys want to have a really special, cool little segment I wanted to try here? Is speaking of the Nets offense, and speaking of how we had that other question about the offense, I prepared a little bit. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We have another super chat before I get there from Neeson, best friend of the breakdown. Neeson Nadu, thank you so much from New Zealand. Very generous of you. I appreciate it so much. Should there be genuine concern about Steph's slump? It's not feeling like a slump anymore. Yeah, there probably should be a little bit. This is a little bit concerning. Are you concerned at all?
I am concerned because we talked about this as well. I talked about how the finishing around the rim isn't the same and hasn't been the same for a while. And you've talked about his left hand not really being the same around the rim. I don't think he has quite as much pop, but he's a little bit stronger than he used to be. But I do think he lost a little bit of his legs over the past month or so.
Yeah, so they might even give him a little bit extra rest, play him less minutes for a few games, get back under control. Hopefully, maybe if he's beat up, get healthy again. And again, it's silly. There's no way he's going to just stop shooting well like that. You can argue that it's Clay, but he was struggling before Clay came back too. But there's a delicate chemistry going on that you need to get back, whatever. So when they get Clay's minutes ramped up again, and Clay stops shooting it every single freaking time he touches the ball, then they might get tuned in better, because right now I think it's a couple of different factors that are problematic. But again, it does feel like at some point he will straighten it out. I'm not worried yet.
Well, I'm encouraged by the way Clay has been playing. I mean, he's been aggressive. That's not an easy feat to do after those kind of injuries, to be that aggressive, going down the lane, not really worrying about who's around or how you're going to land. So, yeah, but, they have another concern right now, though, and that's Draymond, because he's having some issues with his back. This whole league, man, it's just going to be about this season who stays the healthiest out, as it always is, but I think this season even a little bit more.
Yeah, and by the way, there was a potential trade we were talking about where they really should have gotten Miles Turner. I love Looney. Looney does a lot of good things defensively. His finishing at the rim is just so troubling. Miles Turner solves all of that. And by the way, when they're not shooting well, they have really nothing down low to go to at all. This would solve that to some degree. Miles Turner can do a little bit down there, and he could also play defense. So now that Miles Turner is out beyond the deadline, and maybe they want to pull the trigger anyway, thinking that it's not a huge deal. But that would be scary to me to give away like a Wiseman, for instance, and get back a guy who's hurt and might not help you this year, because that's the only reason why you do it, right? Otherwise, just ride with Wiseman if you're not going to get a guy like Miles Turner healthy, ready to go from the get-go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think they probably have more insight on Wiseman's value than everybody else because they get to see him in practice. They get to see his attitude. So I'm sure they'll make a good decision on that.
Yeah, I just think they should keep him and let him develop. And then, there's a way to do it where you're not going to like ruin Steph Curry's last couple of years or whatever. But you can also get the benefit of the development. So, all right, let's get back to this. I want to show you this because I got a really cool app here from Lucio Sports. And a lot of NBA teams use it actually, where you can animate diagrams. So I grabbed a double ball screen that the whatchamacallits did. Here we go. The Nets run. So I'm going to let it play real quick so you can see this. Hopefully it's pretty smooth when it plays for you. So here's what it looks like just when we go, let it go play. Here we go. You can see I used, Kyrie Irving, KD, James Johnson, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Patty Mills. Those are the abbreviation. So if you can see how that looks, it's pretty cool. So I'll let it play one more time and I'll stop a little bit here. So the cool thing about this is now it basically I can draw on this if I want to. So I can do this and I can say, okay, so we have KD, which I love, and I got Kyrie Irving setting a ball screen for him. This is very exciting because after the ball screen and KD is dribbling the ball out here, Patty Mills is going to come and set this flare screen. This would be a great play that they're going to be able to find at some point and throw that ball over the top. And now look at this space that Kyrie would have to operate down on that baseline. You know what I'm saying?
Most definitely. And if you give Kyrie space, good things will happen. In my opinion, the most skillful player in NBA history.
Wow. Okay. That's a bold statement, Cotton. Okay. So then, let me turn this off. So now what happens is, okay, so now LaMarcus Aldridge is setting the screen and rolling hard to the basket, which is going to pull people away out of the way here. Now, Patty Mills' man, whoever's guarding him here, let me draw this, right? He's going to be reluctant to come down and bump on this, right? As the ball is being strung out over here. He doesn't necessarily want to come over and help on that because he leaves Patty Mills open for a shot. Now let's see what happens here. But then here comes, I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot that was what happens there. So then, this didn't finish. Okay. So that double ball screen gets an attack for Kyrie. Now Kyrie has an opportunity, to get in here. No one, there's not going to be help this way off of one pass in the corner. And now KD is facing out. And I don't think anyone's going to want to help out here. And so they ended up getting a shot, I believe, for Patty Mills. This is a nice set here, and it opens up some things and gets some opportunities. So again, when you get a chance to have a ball screen, but it's also the downfall of the Nets offense is when you get a chance to get 2 or 3 of your best players involved in the same action. That's really, really good. They don't do it hardly at all. I want to see Kevin Durant screen for Kyrie Irving and then roll with on the same side as Harden, right? I want to see a high post split with the KD at the elbow and then Harden and Kyrie splitting, which they did do. I didn't diagram that one yet, but I will. And you know what I mean? So, Cabo, your thoughts?
What do you think about Spain pick and roll with those three? And when Joe Harris comes back, you could have Patty Mills in one corner and Joe Harris in one corner.
Oh, well, let's talk about that because I had the opportunity to just do a little whiteboard action here. So if we don't know what a Spain pick and roll is, it is when here's a ball screen here. Let's do black. I can do black. So let's just say the 5 comes up and sets the ball screen. Okay, and then he's going to dribble. However, you bring another player, and here's X5, the defender. He's going to back screen the ball screener's man, and after he does that, he's going to pop out here. So it gets the defense very confused. Does that make sense? Did I draw that well enough? I wonder if I need it.
Yeah, that was pretty good, and I think. KD should be that 5, and maybe Harden start down low, and then Kyrie could handle the basketball with that, because I think James could set a pretty nice screen, and then he could probably pop and knock that down. And
you want Kyrie with the ball on top?
Yeah, and then Kyrie could just go to work if he wants to, make plays happen. I think that could be interesting for them. And obviously the spacing will be there when Joe Harris comes back, and then you have Patty Mills in another corner.
Yeah. I think watching what they're doing and how much Harden is actually the point guard here, I think they would flip that and make it Harden. I think you'd see Harden up here.
I was just kind of thinking about from the screen point of view, because he's a wide body, could set a nice screen. But you're right.
Yeah.
And I could see him popping a little bit more than I could a Kyrie popping,
Oh, really? No, I would want Kyrie popping out here, because he's that shooter. He can nail that shot probably even better than Harden from a catch and shoot standpoint. And then it can work. Now, you want to put Joe Harris and Patty Mills. That's ultimate spacing, because no one's going to help off of them. So you're going to have a lot of room in this gap here coming around. You'll have a gap if Kyrie gets the ball here on the right wing. You'll have a nice big gap, because this guy won't help out that way. I like Spade pick and roll would really help, and maybe they've run it. I haven't seen it, but they need to. You want to do one more play? You want to see one more?
Yeah, let me see one from you, Coach.
All right, here's one, a handoff flare. Let's see how we did how this works. So it starts out with Kyrie. Let's see here. I'll draw. Well, Kyrie's over here on the left side, and we have a play. Okay, so this starts out with a double ball screen. It's a little glitchy. Sorry. So we get a double pin down for Patty Mills on the right side, while Kyrie's bringing the ball up on the left. And then Johnson, loosen up to the left corner. So you have Patty Mills is going to come off of that double pin down and get the ball. Now, what I like about this is that Patty Mills instantly is going to go right back and hand off to Kyrie Irving on top, with Marcus Aldridge coming up to set a ball screen if Kyrie wants it. Okay, and then Patty Mills will flare out there to the left wing, get the ball there, and then can dribble at James Johnson, who then cuts back door, and they give it to him for a layup. There was a turnover on that pass from Patty Mills for the Johnson layup, but it should have been a layup. So you can see how there are some clever things, and what they're doing here to maximize is, when you have KD, so you can do two things. You can have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on opposite sides to really stretch the defense as much as possible, or get them involved in the same action together and really put crazy amount of pressure on the defense. Again, they're much more happy getting these guys separated, which I'm not, it's not, they need to do more on the same side. But anyway, to get KD screening for Patty Mills is really important, because KD's man, he's never going to want to leave as Patty Mills comes off the double screen. This guy right here is not going to want to leave KD, right? He's too worried about it. Any thoughts so far you want to throw in your combo?
I like that. I think you could put KD in a few different areas here, because KD is so well-rounded. He could do so many great things. You could probably put him in almost every position on this chart and see some benefits.
Oh, for sure. Because now Marcus Aldridge doesn't roll off of this to the basket. They want to keep the basket area clear. So you'll see KD loosens up to the corner, and LaMarcus Aldridge is going to kind of pop out toward, because he's going to set the screen, which I really like this kind of action, because this is pistol, right? This is basically, if you had the ball here, and you dribble handoff. Wait, it's the other way, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. It's the other way. Let me clear that. It's the ball is here on Patty Mills has it, and he's dribbling this way. And then is it Kyrie? He's going to come off this way, get the handoff here, and then boom, LMA is going to set the ball screen. I love that action. That happens in a lot of different places. You can have it in the corner, coming out of the corner, or you can have it out top. That's very difficult to guard, because Kyrie can turn that corner in a moment and has the whole basket area wide open. You know what I mean?
No, most definitely. Gives him plenty of space. And I love LaMarcus as a popper. Even on that Spain pick and roll, he'd be a great popper, as we were discussing some of the players that could be in that position as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because what he can do here is after he sets the pin down, LaMarcus Aldridge had set the pin down. Yeah, he can kind of get out here a little bit. His spacing is a little bit different, but yeah, you can get him into that area there. Or, what he doesn't do much anymore, which I don't know why, is he should go right to there, the post, the operate there. You remember how devastating he was down low in Portland?
Yeah, I guess the reason is they want to keep that open for Harden, Kyrie, and KD, and just let them eat and give them that, those three options in the mid-range at the three and at the basket. So I guess they don't want to revolve offense around LaMarcus, which, it makes some sense to keep that basket open for those three dynamic players.
So let's just talk about this as we wrap this up. Remember, the timing's off. James Johnson is still in the corner. He doesn't cut until the ball starts getting dribbled toward him. And that's the trigger. When the ball starts coming to you in the corner, you almost always want to cut back door because your man's going to look at the ball, get beat usually. This is the play, though, is the ball goes here on the cut, and then the KD's man will have to help on this one because he's the lowest man. He'll probably get sucked in more often than not. And then that's the pass to KD for a wide open three in the corner, which would be really nice to help the offense generate better shots than what KD is getting, which is like multi-dribble ISOs on the right wing and then just trying to rise up over the guy. He shoots them well, but I would much rather see him get 2 or 3 of these kind of threes a game. I'm sure Nash would too.
I agree with you, Coach Nick. And this is the issue with a lot of teams. The Celtics could use some of this. The Knicks could use some of this because it's just way too much ISO ball. It's frustrating with those teams.
Well, what do you guys think about that? Tell me in the comments. Did you guys like that? Because my goal here is I'm going to do a weekly show where we just do X's and O's and we break it down. We talk about the defense. I might have some back and forth going on. One guy, somebody does the offense. I do the defense. I don't know. We'll see. But let me know what you think in the comments because I want to do a regular show just like this for even if it's a half an hour. It's a deep dive. And then, by the way, what we're going to open up that is on the Assist app. We're going to have a whole community of people that can download it for free and then take clips, draw on the clips, share it with all of us, and be a part of the community. And then, I can share them on the show if they're really good. So that's what I'm building towards. So let me know how you think about that in the comments. We have another super chat. My goodness, thanks so much. The Age of Brevity is from Canada, I think, is what CA is. Thank you so much for being so generous. I was a little bit worried looking at the number and the icon and the name that it was going to be another one of these guys reading scripture to us, but he asks, is Fred VanVleet a poor man Steph Curry? Thoughts, Combo?
I don't really see it.
I don't see it either. He doesn't have that. I mean, no, because even to be a poor man Steph Curry, you have to have that little bit of that quickness, motion, movement. I see Fred VanVleet as more of like the old man game where he's cagey and he'll stop and start and change speeds and make, when you throw a really good off-speed pitch, then your fastball looks a lot faster, even though it's not. That, to me, is what Fred VanVleet is. And I love Fred VanVleet. Just did a video. Please go watch it. If you haven't already seen that, just released it, and it's a great breakdown of his game. But he is the guy that's going to help you win no matter what you do. Yeah,
he's not the Steph Curry archetype. There are players that are of the Steph Curry archetype, though, like Trae Young a little bit, Darius Garland even a little bit. But I definitely don't think it's Fred VanVleet.
No, yeah, I would say that Trae might be closest to him. Garland, interesting. Yeah, maybe. Garland's even a better athlete, I would say. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that could be true. And obviously he's not the shooter that Steph is, but man, he is so creative with the basketball in his hands. He sets the table, he makes everybody around him better. And he could be an all-star this year. So shouts to
he's a good shooter. He's a good defender too, by the way. Let's see here. He's shooting from 37%, and he was 40% just about last year. So yeah, there's some progression there too. So anyway, so sorry, Age of Brevity. We don't see the poor man Steph Curry connection, but we certainly love Fred VanVleet. And by the way, if you watch the video, I had a one-on-one interview with him, exclusive.
It was great. I tuned in, Coach Nick.
What's that?
Good. I tuned in. It was great.
Thanks. There's another super chat. Okay, N Starks 007. So we got some. Isn't Ned Starks, or isn't that like Game of Thrones? I don't know. Ned Stark. Anyway, I didn't watch it. And then we got 007. We got a mixture of two different genres here. Bigger surprise of the season: MVP Ja Morant or the Mavericks defensive jump with Luka's shooting some. Also, what the heck is going on in Atlanta? So great question. The Mavericks defensive jump is crazy. They're like top 5 right now in defensive rating. and someone was whispering that they're doing something different, but they weren't really exactly sure what. And I need to take a deep dive. Do you have any sense of what's going on in Dallas right now?
No, I mean, offensively, Jalen Brunson has been taking a leap, so I know what's happening on offense. And when Porzingis has been there, he's been playing really well, even though he had some COVID protocol stuff. But I haven't really seen much of a difference on the defensive end. Maybe teams just aren't shooting it as well against them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and that could be a thing. Like, also, it could just be a very well, like, who they had an easy stretch of their schedule for a little while. I'm kind of calling it up right now, so I want to take a look at their lineups that they're playing. Which ones are really good? Like, for instance, their most played lineup in the season is only played 11 games together, 103 minutes. It's Hardaway, Powell, Porzingis, Finney-Smith, and Doncic. And it's terrible. They're getting blown out. So I have a feeling if I look at this more closely that lineup hasn't played together for a while. But let's see, the most staunch, defensive rating 5-man lineup, doesn't have very many minutes at all. I'm looking at something like 105, 104. The best one I see right now in terms of, as far as the highest played one, is the fourth highest played is Bullock, Hardaway, Powell, Finney-Smith, and Doncic, and that's 105.7 defensive rating, which is pretty good. But again, they're not scoring at all. Their offensive rating is 71.3, so their net rating is negative 34.4. So if you want to find a nice low defensive rating with a good positive net rating, you have to go to here's a good one: Bullock, Powell, Porzingis, Finney-Smith, and Doncic, plus 30.4 net rating with a crazy good 82.6 defensive rating. They haven't played a lot of minutes. They played 4 games together in that one. A lot of minutes in each game. 42 minutes in 4 games is a lot of minutes for a 5-man lineup. So that's got to be where I would start. Okay, let's look at that lineup. Let's figure out why they're shutting teams down. But listen, in a 4-game sample, they could have easily played the 4 worst teams in the league in terms of offensive rating.
Yeah, and those lineups don't have Brunson in it, and Brunson has been a real bright spot for them. And I think, Jason Kidd has been a bright spot for them, and Porzingis. Luka's starting to come around, and if he could keep trending in the right direction and they stay healthy, you never know. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, you never know. I kind of lost faith in them after last season, but they have a new coach. Luka's numbers are down a bit shooting-wise, across the board. And that's we should probably check more recently if they ticked up. But at the very least, I'm going to keep my eye on that because the Mavericks are just a surprising team overall. I thought they'd be a lot better anyway. MVP John Morant, I don't think he's quite there yet, but it certainly has been an awesome storyline. Is it going to be like a Derrick Rose kind of thing where he just sort of captures the imagination and Memphis does really, really well? But Memphis would have to be third, right, in the West for him to get a serious MVP consideration, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to win MVP this year. I think I would have Jokic and Embiid ahead of him right now. But he's having a
that's where they are right now. They are third.
Who's third?
Memphis in the West.
Oh, yeah. But he's having a great season. He obviously took a leap. But MVP, I'm not sure.
I'm telling you, if they maintain that and they continue that position third or whatever, no lower than third, then that will become a narrative. And who knows? And especially when you get the highlights that he puts up. Oh my goodness gracious, love him.
Yeah.
And then
the 360 layup the 360 layup was crazy, right?
Oh yeah, he's crazy, and the block was crazy too off the board. Was insane. We talked about Atlanta, right? The Cam Reddish has kind of got out there. The locker room might have been a little bit unsteady, but I still feel like they're going to figure it out, and they're going to be able to maximize that experience they got last year. I got to just check to find out. I'm telling you, it's DeAndre Hunter coming back will help them too, and that question if he's going to come back in time. But I think that kind of covers the question. So thanks, N Starks. Appreciate the super chat. That's awesome. I think we have another super chat here. What is your? Let's put it on the screen. Timbo Bimbo 2. What is my? Oh my goodness! Thank you for being really generous. This is amazing. What's my favorite Harry Styles song that you saw live using SeatGeek with code B-Ball? Haha! This is not a setup. I don't know unless you work for SeatGeek. If you didn't know, Combo, in the last couple SeatGeek ads, I've been talking about how I got it. I actually got it for my daughter. She's the real big Harry Styles fan, so I got it. But SeatGeek came through in a huge way to help me get amazing seats for her. But I do say that "Sign of the Times" is my favorite Harry Styles song, and maybe I'll even use it in a video because that would be a great cinematic, slow-mo and what I mean. You know that song, Combo?
I do not. But maybe
Check
if I
out.
heard it, maybe it's one of those things I don't know who sung it, but when you hear it, you're like, oh, that song.
Yeah, "Sign of the Times." I can't play it for you right now because who knows what happens with the copyright strike in a live show, but it's a great song. and you should check it out. All you guys should. It's a great. I love it. And by the way, the video is really cool too. I don't want to, no spoilers, but you watch the video because there's a really cool effect that they do that's is just startling as an image that you will not forget. But thank you, Bimbo, so much for asking that question. We have somebody who wants to come on the show. We have Chris, who's been waiting very patiently. I know I just jumped in here, but Chris, what's happening, my man?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, thanks for being patient with us.
No problem, no problem. I wanted to ask you about Malik Monk and Grayson Allen. What do you think of them? These guys. I think we talked about it over the summer on Green Room, but I wanted you to. Yeah.
You know, before the season started, I would have been like, probably neutral on Malik Monk. I would have thought, okay, like he's got some ability. This might be something, might not. I will tell you, after the first month and a half or 2 months, I thought this is not working at all. He didn't look good at all. Could not figure it out, which is a testament to like that, that learning experience you need to have playing alongside LeBron. It's just what it is. Combo, have you seen the Malik Monk renaissance in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think he's been amazing lately, and he could make shots. He's dynamic. I love his game. He hasn't made the leap quite like an Anthony Simons, but he's doing pretty good.
He had a lefty runner, like in the lane off 2 feet, I think last night. That was really, really impressive. And let's just go through his numbers right now. It's a career high, 12.1 points a game, in 26 minutes. And let's see here. He's shooting 40% from 3, which is really important. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when that's what gets you on the court alongside LeBron. You got to stretch the floor. So, yeah, I mean, what do you think, Chris?
I think he just needs a little bit even more opportunity, like 26 minutes a game. I feel like he deserves a little bit more, probably because of his defense. He's probably not on the floor a little bit more.
Yeah. There's a lot of those shots, right? You see him where the other team scores and they're all kind of like looking around, and he's usually somewhere being looked at when that happens. But I mean, this is a serious run of, 20 points, 25, 15, 18, 22, 24, 29, clunker against Memphis, and then 22, 4, and 14. So, I mean, it's a great story too. I just love to see somebody who was, his confidence had to have been shot by mid-December. So that's great to see. Now, who was the other player you want to talk about?
Grayson Allen has been playing great. Yeah.
Grayson Allen on the Bucks.
Yeah. I think he fits in really nicely what they want to do. And it's funny because DiVincenzo just came back, and I was like, how is that really going to work or not? And I don't know. I'm still not quite sure. But if you want to quickly grab the Grayson Allen stats, in 28 minutes a game, he's taking 7 threes. That might even be like low. I bet you he could still get a few more threes off.
But they're all open too, like in the corner, wide open.
Yeah, and he's 39%, which is okay, but I want to check to see what the stats say about the number of open shots, the percentage, because that should be higher if they're they are. But yeah, he's certainly benefiting from the space they generate with Giannis being the focal point. But I definitely feel empty. Something about the Bucks this year has made me feel empty watching them and not feeling like great about them.
Drew Holiday's been out. Drew Holiday's been out a lot. They've been losing when he hasn't been there.
That's got to be part of it. Chris, what do you think?
I feel like in the playoff series, if all guys are healthy, man, that's a tough team.
Can't you say that about other teams, Chris?
No, just because the Bucks, they've done it, right? So that when you're a champion, you play with, there's a certain type of confidence. They don't get rattled easily. So I feel like out of all the teams in the East, they're going to be probably the toughest out.
How about Miami, Chris?
I'm not worried about Miami. Miami is a lot of smoke and mirrors. I feel like
Butler can't stay on the floor.
They're good on defense, but Bam hasn't made a leap offensively. He's defense. They're always going to be well, but if he can't score, then what can you do, right? Kylie Hero leads the team in scoring off the bench.
I think that trio is a pretty good trio, and then they got guys who are really taking a leap, like Max Strus and Yurt-7.
But are you going to play those guys in a playoff series?
I think Max Strus could play in the playoffs.
We'll find out. But
the moment is too big. I think, Jimmy Butler is obviously going to show up, but I feel like the Bucks just have too much firepower for Miami. I think they already slayed that demon. Like, they're fine.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say about that's interesting with the Bucks is, in my mind, generally, like a team breaks through, they win the title, and usually the next year they've got the glow, and they're just they've learned it, they've got the experience, and they just dominate That's not happening. I know Lopez has
That's
not
true.
come back for a while, and they've been missing, Vincenzo and stuff like that. So that could be part of it too. But I don't know. So I something about it. The Bucks are still have to convince me a little bit more that they're going to be the favorites. But I totally recognize your argument, and that makes a lot of sense to me. That yes, they've been there, they have that experience. It's going to be really important for them going into the playoffs.
Going back to right before I came on, you were talking about Anthony Simons. Do you think this is like real, or is it just because there's really no one on the team who can score right now? So someone has to score.
We saw him do this last year, right? Like there were moments when he was amazing, maybe even 2 years ago. So
I think it was 2 years ago. Last year, I think he had a down year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I mean, in my mind's eye, in very small, by the way, it could be small sample size. He might have like 10 points in the game, but like 2 of the buckets were like wicked. You know what I mean?
I think the shooting is real and the athleticism is real, which makes it real, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's real. I think he can be the guy that's going to. By the way, now that Dame is going to be out, he's really going to get opportunities to play that role. I think you're going to see him get close to 20 points a game.
Yeah. Because he can't. He's still only 22 years old. It seems like he's been in the league for forever, forever, I guess.
Yeah, for 4 years.
But yeah, he came straight out of high school, out of IMG, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
like they've been.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. In the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the last 7 games he's played, he missed 1. But in the last 7 games he's played, he's got a 43, 28, 31, 31. I mean, he's laying it down right now. So I got to do a video on him. Actually, that just inspired me. Thank you, Chris. That's great.
Yeah, I picked him up on fantasy. I had to.
Oh wow,
he was on fire.
That's big. That's big. All right. Well, listen,
real quick.
Real quick.
Do you think he's available for a trade? I want my Celtics to pick him up so bad.
Who's that?
Chris? Simons. I feel like he's a good lead guard.
It'd have to be a top. It couldn't be a protected first round pick, right? They need to get an unprotected first round pick.
Obviously. Yeah.
But no one's ever going to give one of those up anymore. Like, okay, maybe a 6th pick they would take maybe top 4 protection or something like that. So whoever has a pick like that, because in my mind, if they're going to get rid of him, who's already so damn young, and they can rebuild with him, then it's going to have to be for the chance of an amazing pick. I don't know if anyone's want to give it up for that, but otherwise, I think he stays.
Gotcha.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. We got all of a sudden got people in line. We want to come on. We got to get to everybody. But please come back next time and we'll talk more.
Thanks, Chris.
Absolutely.
All right,
have a great night.
You too. We have a real quick another super chat, guys. This is so helpful to us. I can't tell you, and also it gets your question on the top. Sam Stone from Canada, I think with CA is Canada. Who's your dark horse team to win it all this year? The dark horse.
I feel like the dark horse teams aren't really dark horses because they're getting all the hype, like the Bulls and Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah. I mean, the Bulls, would probably be that way. Are the Sixers a dark horse?
Yeah, because Ben Simmons should come back.
Yeah, but by the way, they're quietly playing great again, like they were in the beginning of the year. Now that they're kind of getting everybody back in shape.
And Embiid's playing at an MVP level.
Yeah, for sure, and he's so tough. So you got to be worried about injuries again for him and everybody else. But that now on the West side, anybody is a dark horse?
On the West, Denver.
I was thinking about Denver. I really like Denver. And by the way, are they going to get the guys back before the end of the year? You're talking about MPJ. You're talking about
yeah, they're gonna get Murray back. MPJ, man, that's an unfortunate situation. I hope he comes back.
Yeah, it's
at
scary.
any time, to be honest. Like, I'll be happy if he just comes back.
Yeah, it's very scary what's going on with him. But if they just got oh my goodness, the guard Murray, they got Murray back. That would be a really big. Yes. So they could be dark horse, and Memphis could be a dark horse. Memphis doesn't have the experience, but they did play in the playoffs last year. That's going to be helpful for them.
And I love because like all the dark horse teams get so much attention in the way the NBA is now.
It's an interesting season. Yeah. Any other super chats, real quick? I don't see any. Okay, great. Hopefully, I didn't miss one. I think I covered it. All right, so let's get to LJ. Oh no, we missed somebody else who's waiting. But let's bring in LJ to the stream. What's happening, my man?
What's going on? Can you guys hear me?
We can. You sound great.
All right, sweet. So I have a simple question. Okay, so Steph Curry, obviously, he's a very popular player and stuff. My thing is, Okay, so the NBA is a copycat league, right? I think we can all kind of agree with that.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, Steph Curry, he has this like off-ball mastery about him. You know, a lot of his damage is done off-ball. So my question is, for the teams that have the personnel to do it, why don't other teams kind of mimic that off-ball system? For example, like Damian Lillard, he has the skill set to do it, and I don't really see it ran from them a lot. Trae Young is another example. I don't really understand why people don't do that, especially when it seems to have success for the Warriors. So if you guys could just answer that question for me.
You know, it's funny because when you say it's a copycat league, it's everyone does except for the Warriors. They've been this weird outlier. But Kava, I want to hear your thoughts, having played beyond college and in those settings. Do you have a feeling for what's going on in the NBA? Why more teams are not, getting more off-ball, devastation to the defense?
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to somebody who has been on an NBA coaching staff before, and he felt like Dame Lillard could fit into that Steph Curry spot, and they wouldn't lose that much if he focused and if the team kind of revolves Dame the same way they revolve Steph around Draymond, right? Like using him more off ball. And that's a great point, LJ. Maybe the Portland could do that more as well. The thing with Portland is offense was never really their issue. It was just that miniature backcourt. Defense was the issue. With Steph Curry, he has Draymond there as the other guard, kind of like a point guard. He has Clay there as another guard, helping, kind of hiding him on defense, even though Steph is an underrated defender. So, yeah, I think a lot of teams could do a lot more of that. And in Europe, they do a lot better job of moving without the basketball, and I think they could bring that to the NBA as well. So,
here I got some interesting takes. I was actually going to tweet this out one last time just to let everybody know that we're here, because you know what? Let's see what we can get happens here. Here we go. Join us live. Okay, so here's my thought. First of all, to do what Steph does, it's hard, right? It's really hard. It's a lot of energy, a lot of running. He does more running than anybody in the league, as far as I remember, or close to as much as anybody does. That's one thing. Another thing is when you're off ball like Steph is, you're allowed to beat up the guy a little bit more than he would be on the ball, which is definitely an issue sometimes with the Warriors. It gets bogged down sometimes. So that's another thing I was thinking about as far as that goes. So that probably might be the biggest two reasons why other coaches don't want to. Now, the other thing about it is, when you play a style like that, it's predicated on passing, right? You generally will have more passing than other teams. Like I can remember talking to Daryl Morey about this at some point years ago, where he's like, the more passes you throw, the more likely you are to have a turnover. Watch the Warriors and watch them go through those moments for like 5 minutes where they're literally just passing to the other team, right? And part of it is because they're throwing so many passes. So it's another reason why coaches might say, maybe we don't want to do the 5 passes in a possession and have them running around this much, because we might, increase the turnovers. And that's a scary thing for coaches to relinquish that kind of control.
I'd say that's a pretty good answer. I hadn't thought about that, especially with like the passing that you said. I feel like, traditionally point guards are supposed to have control of the offense, so maybe that's kind of why people don't do it as much. But for teams like I said, the teams that have the personnel to do it, like even the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, I feel like he could kind of play that Draymond role the same way that Draymond does, and kind of have Jamal Murray when he comes back, have that same like dynamic ish. But
yeah, I think they'd be worried about Jokic, flying on the court that way. And flying is interesting term. You know what I mean? It's like he is so big and strong, whatever, that commanding a high post position static is still really good for him. And then now he can see everybody, as a heliocentric player, and that's where he's so great. So I'm thinking what you're saying is get Jokic doing more short rolls for the basket and doing all that stuff. Yeah. Hey, I love that. That's my favorite part about like what the Warriors do. By the way, that's the other thing. When you teach offense like the triangle offense, so they're not running the triangle, but they use all the principles of teaching your offense like the triangle would. Everybody plays every position. So you see guys running through, the Steph position. You'll see Steph play the other positions too. So that's the interchangeability of that is what makes you a better team overall, and certainly makes it more interesting, as a player. So you're not just constantly doing the same thing over and over again. And so that would be one other reason why, okay, let's get Jokic in some other positions here, which would simply make him harder to guard. So I hear you. I would like to see. Listen, I like to see Jokic handle the ball and pick and roll himself, right?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not have a guard set a ball screen for him? I mean, that would be. I can't see how you'd stop that.
All right. Well, that was my only question. So. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks. That was a great question. And anytime, come back and join us.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
Thanks.
Well,
Roger.
listen, Combo, I think we're getting a little bit long in the tooth here. We passed the hour mark a little while ago. So what do you say we start to think about wrapping this up?
Sure. Sounds great. This was a great conversation. Thanks so much for having me back on, and can't wait to keep it going.
Yeah. I kind of missed the comment section. I was looking to see if anybody commented on the diagramming stuff. Maybe I saw one good one.
I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, that was cool. I had some other ideas too. Bring on some other coaches, and we kind of go back and forth on the same play and like give our whatever. So I'm working on that. And again, it'll be open to people joining and being able to download this app under my in my community and sharing more X's and O's. I think it would be great for fans or coaches. So stay tuned for that. Anything going on this week you want to shout out?
Combos Court. We just dropped a podcast with Dr. Neera Pandya, who's an orthopedic surgeon. Talked about Clay's return. Talked about
cool.
Dame's ab. Talked about Dame's ab injury. So that's interesting. Yeah, you could subscribe to Combos Court wherever you listen to podcasts.
There you go. Well, glad you threw that out. But guess what? We got one more super chat in there that Adam got under the wire here. So thank you. And this is so generous. And a little mini turtle. That's so cute. Adam S asks, what is the ideal fit return for Ben Simmons / fit with Embiid? Do you get a guard while having Maxey get a wing, reshuffle the 3-4? And what about Simons and stuff in return? Much love. Thank you, Adam. So, he's probably referring to, by the way, there's a report that they were going to move Tobias as well with Ben Simmons.
They want to get off that contract, Coach Nick.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Tobias is a nice complementary player that makes him pretty good, but I suppose they're always looking to tinker and figure out a better way to not only manage the actual. By the way, they might not. I don't know if Daryl's even focusing on the chemistry of the locker room or anything more versus the numbers and how those fit together. So because Tobias is the guy you want in your locker room. There's no doubt about it. He's the guy that you'd want as a great presence on any team. So. Anyways, he's wondering what the ideal fit return for Ben Simmons alongside Embiid. So what do you think if Maxey is the guy that's going to play that position and Ben Simmons goes away? What do you think they're looking to shore up on that team?
They need defense and they need a connective piece. I mean, I would love to see them do something with the Kings where they can get Tyrese Halliburton, because I think Tyrese Halliburton is the guy that could help them. He could help the Celtics. He's a connective piece. He's young, and I really like his game. Obviously, he's not the level of player of Ben, but maybe they can get something else in that as well, because they need to do something soon because they want to contend this year. And Embiid is playing at an MVP level. Yeah.
No, I hear you. I need to look at their team for 1 second to remind myself exactly what the roster is looking like, because, I'm curious. I mean, everyone wants a 3-and-D. You want a guy who can just shoot the crap out of the ball and really play defense, right? That's what you want. And if that guy is 6'8", even better. But those don't exist, right? You don't have those kind of guys.
Covington, but I know they say that his on-ball defense isn't great as his team defense, but Covington's a guy who can shoot the three. I mean, he was with Philly in the past, so he knows how to play in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's true. So he would probably be a decent addition to them. But, do you get Covington? Does Covington give you more than Tobias?
I like Covington better than Tobias, me personally. Not as a player, but what you could get for him for the money that you're paying him, right? Like, in my opinion.
Okay, maybe, yeah. So that's interesting, right? Because Tobias Harris has probably got a pretty big contract.
He got a max contract, Coach Nick.
Oh, he does? So he's making how fast can I scroll? Tobias is making this year $36 billion, and next year 38.4, and then the next year 40.9. Good for you, Tobias. Way to go.
Good for you.
Great, and good for your agent. Well, listen, I think that kind of covers it, my man. That was a great show, really.
Yeah, I think we're getting better and better, Coach Nick.
We are, absolutely. And maybe Tuesday would be good. We had more people, I think, on this one. We had the other last week. So maybe Tuesday is the way to go, especially when there's less games. We can kind of do this. So Combo, again, thank you for being part of this and just giving us your expert opinions and everything. It really helps to bounce some ideas off you. I'd love to hear them. Everybody else on the super chats, so many of you guys were so generous. It really is important. You trust me that we rely on this to help us keep going. So thank you so much for that. And all the people who came on the show was great too. And don't forget, sports fans, at People Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? You in, Combo?
I'm in, Coach Nick.